Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is Paul Robinson with Motivation 14 Ministries. I'm actually doing a short video on the effects of alcohol, drinking alcohol, and my personal opinion on it. It's not the world's opinion, it's Paul's opinion. I've had a lot of experience. Excuse the glasses. I was reading some scripture on drinking and doing drugs back in the day. And I said in my introduction video I would like to interact with people and explain my view with scripture and personal experiences on alcohol, drugs, and the different things I mentioned in the introduction video. So that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be short, probably about 10 minutes. Like and subscribe. Gotta say it. Everybody else says it. My personal experience with alcohol is it's never been good in the long run. People get involved in alcohol and drinking as a social tool or as medication. It usually starts out, now remember, this is my personal opinion, which I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, licensed person. This is just my opinion, and you're watching the channel and you have the right to turn it off if you don't like it. On that note, my personal experience and with the situations I've had with friends and relatives, eventually alcohol consumption goes too far. Doesn't matter who it is. I promise you that whoever drinks alcohol and thinks that it's okay, at one point or another has drank too much and has felt terrible the next day because you're ingesting a poison into your system. It's a suppressant. It's a depressant. Physically, it depresses your system. It suppresses you. On that note, what do people use it for? They use it for socialization. Hey, I want to go have a few drinks with my friends and get loose, and it makes people talk louder and faster. It makes your heart race a little more. It gets your blood flowing. Thins out your blood, actually. And it's been sold into the public as a really great thing. If you look at it from a Christian perspective, which is how I try to look at everything once I got saved 25 years ago. I'm a Christian guy, not perfect in any way, still a sinner, but I have a new set of rules that I have to live by and guidelines that make sense, because my personal rules and guidelines before I got saved were do anything I want, and got myself in a lot of trouble, as probably most of you have that are watching these videos. So, on that note, that's my background a little bit. Alcohol is a depressant. You know, in Christianity, I talk about the seasons in How Not to Be a Debt Slave 1 video. And in the seasons, it explains, like, you have seasons in your life. God has different seasons in your life that you go through. Excuse me, like, summer, fall, winter, spring. It says that sin is pleasurable for a season. So, what I found as I was growing up, first of all, I was taught that drinking was cool because you could be part of the crew. I grew up hardcore, blue collar, 3 older brothers, all kinds of wild guys and big parties, and we did the whole tough guy thing. And we, it was like cool to go drinking, get buzzed, get jacked up, go have some beers with the guys, and go chase girls, and big party scene. Party, party, party. See, they sell it to you as a party. When really, eventually, now the seasons, when I was talking about the seasons just a second ago, what I wanted to explain about that was in scripture it says sin is pleasurable for a season, which means when you're doing things when you're younger, like things that aren't so good for you, you can get away with them for a while. It's a season of your life. God allows you to go do things that you really shouldn't do. Just like a good father would let his kid touch the hot stove just to prove a point. Like, hey, I told you not to touch it, but I'm going to let you touch it if you want to keep touching it. And then when you do, you learn a lesson, right? Man, that stove's hot. Burn your hand. Well, then you develop character. That's how God teaches us character. By allowing his children to go through situations that create character in them. And usually you got to have two different scenarios, good and bad, to pick one and to learn a lesson to make you a better person, man or woman. So as you're growing up, this is my personal experience. As I grew up, you could go drink, have a few beers with the guys, go to work the next day. You're taught that it's cool. You can hang out with the older people when you drink because, yeah, you're cool. Okay. Well, that's okay for certain people. Everybody has different metabolisms too. Scientifically, you have chemical enzymes that control your thought processes and go through your body and, make you different than everybody else. Well, in my case, I have an addictive mindset, addictive personality, addictive program. If my body likes stimulation, it's just how it is. My body likes stimulation. My drugs of choice when I got hardcore and was in season, were cocaine, alcohol. I liked whiskey. Why drink beer and drink all that carbonation when you could drink whiskey and get buzzed faster? Always bigger. I always went bigger. Go big, go big. Boldness. I talk about that in video 1 too. How God gives you boldness. He created it actually in you for him, to glorify him once you came around and realized who he was and you made that choice to serve him. You could use the boldness to glorify him, not yourself. Okay, but unfortunately the world's all about themselves. This is the fallen world. That's another Adam and Eve story. The fall in the garden. They chose to do things on their own, which cursed mankind. And, God told them not to do it, but they did it. It's another story you got to read in the Bible. The alcohol, though, particularly alcohol, because that's what a person sent me a message through the comments section, which is cool. That's what I want people to do so we could have these small discussions. There are people that can go have a couple beers and they go to work the next day and everything's fine. They don't have to drink a 6-pack. They don't have to drink a 12-pack. They don't have to get drunk. If you drink a beer, you're going to get a little buzz. You drink 2 beers, you get a little more buzz. It's, domino effect. Gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you get DUIs if you get pulled over. Okay, the fallen world, it promotes drinking because they make a lot of money on it tax-wise. In the monetary world, at the bars, and, you go out to dinner with your girlfriend or your friends or your wife, and you have a dinner, and they're like, hey, what would you like to drink tonight? Well, I'll have a glass of wine. Everybody's having glasses of wine or beer or whatever. That alcohol's so expensive, it's ridiculous. Do a shot of whiskey's like $10 now. Okay, they're making their money off of you. Physically, it's taking you out of a reality state. God gave you a clear reality, unless you have some type of chemical imbalance where you need help and there's certain things going on in your life. But the average person has a clear mental state when they wake up in the morning. You want to alter it? Drink some whiskey. Drink some beer. Drink some wine. Wine's strong too. It takes you out of the original reality state that God gave you. How does it do it? It suppresses you. It depresses you. It's a suppressant. So if say a person has fears and anxiety because he's, nervous about something or whatever. Like you hear guys, I gotta go have a drink. I gotta calm down. Well, if you have a drink and you calm, what is it doing? It's suppressing your emotions and feelings. That's what it's doing. Now, when you start wanting to improve your life, when you get older and wiser, and you go, wait a minute, I don't want to have to drink a beer to be calm or drink a glass of wine because I had a bad day. Okay, that's called medication. It's not a party essential. Now it's medication. Okay, that's what it eventually turns into. I can tell you how it works. When you're young and you're in season, you're in that, sin is pleasurable for a season period, and you don't have an addiction problem yet, and you're drinking, and you're just hanging out with the guys because you were taught, that was cool. Everybody's just loose and getting into it. You're at the beach doing whatever. Later on in life, you start, as you get older, the alcohol, this is how it turns into medication. I had a really terrible work week. My boss was mean to me, or I lost this job, or I blew it on this estimate. Man, I'm really pissed off or depressed. So I gotta go have a drink, or go get buzzed, or go get effed up, because we're tough. That's medication, man. That's a medication suppressing your emotions and feelings because you don't want to deal with them. Okay, that's not how you want to handle your emotions and feelings, and I'll tell you why. If you're that type of person that has that addictive type of personality where you end up doing that, and then alcohol becomes a standard part of your work week or life, and every time you go someplace you have to drink, and or you drink to suppress emotions and feelings, you never grow internally. A DUI counselor will tell you these things. Here's an example. You start drinking at 15 years old. You're hanging out with the kids from high school. Yay, we got my dad's 6-pack. We're drinking the beer. Boom, get a little buzz. Then, these kids will, 3 of the 6 kids, let's just say there's 6 kids. 3 kids here will have a few beers and be like, oh, wow, that was fun. Then they don't drink anymore. The other 3 kids are like, hey, man, let's keep drinking. And then 2 of those kids have an addictive personality, and then they become alcoholics, or they need it. They have to have it. Their mind's telling them, see, your body, if you have an addictive type of metabolism, your body will tell you it needs it. It psychologically changes your mindset. Spiritual warfare. And I say that because I'm a Christian and I believe in that. There's spiritual warfare going on all around us. If you don't know about that, then you need to learn about that. Because there's a lot of people that are confused about who they are and why they're at where they're at because they don't understand who made them. It wasn't just mommy and daddy. God breathed life into you, into a spirit, before the earth was even formed, it says in Scripture. And then one day your mommy and daddy got together and created you physically, and God breathed life into you. Okay? And there's people are different. I know a good friend of mine has two sons. One son can have a few beers and go home and wake up and go to work. The other son, if he has a few beers, he has to go get a six pack and keep drinking all night. Okay? There's a big difference. The alcohol counselor, I'll get back to that. Sorry if I get a little choppy. I get excited and bounce around, got a high metabolism. So forgive me for that, folks. The alcohol counselor will tell you this. And it makes sense because I got a DUI at 23 years old. I'm 54 now. Okay. And by that time in my life, I lived 3 lifetimes already. I mean, I was rolling hardcore. I did a lot of crazy things in my life, and I will explain those stories in other videos. But in my world, it was normal for everybody to, hardcore, hard-working, blue-collar dudes just working really hard, getting crazy, riding bikes and street bikes and dirt bikes, building big trucks and chasing girls. It's what we did. What happens is this. The story of the kid who starts drinking at 15. Okay, here's how it goes. Starts drinking at 15. This is what a counselor told me. That's why I can, and she's a certified DUI school counselor. Okay, I'm just repeating what she said, and it's the story of my life. She was telling me my life to me before she even knew me. And she told everybody, there's like 50 dudes in this class, in the DUI class. All right. And she said, 3/4 of you will be back in here with another DUI. Because by the time you drink so much and had so many chances to stop drinking, but kept drinking, and then you got a DUI, she said, hey, I'm a Cook County counselor, so I'm not supposed to tell you this, but this is God's way of giving you a chance before you do something really bad. Because, and she goes, 3/4 of you will get another DUI, and the other quarter is going to learn a lesson from what I'm about to teach you. And this is where it goes. So when you're 15, here's an example. You start drinking. This is my example because this is my life. You start drinking around 14, 15 years old because it's cool. You keep drinking on the weekends with your friends. You're out driving your cool cars because we all worked hard. We all had money, and we'd build Chevelles and pro street cars and street bikes and stuff and go out cruising, do our thing, go to parties, go to nightclubs, stuff like that, run our world, You go drinking. Okay, well, you're drinking, you keep drinking, you keep drinking. And as you're going through the years of drinking, it turns in from a socialization tool to a medication. Like, hey, man, we got to drink, man. Let's go get effed up because, this is a rough week. Whatever excuse you had to go get hammered, that's what we would do. Well, and then 30 years old comes around. Okay. These are about the average age range between 15 and 30. Then you start thinking because you become wiser. God gives you wisdom as you get older. And you realize that, hey, wait a minute. Now it's a medication, and I'm being suppressed by it because it's depressant, a physical depressant in your life. And for most people that keep drinking like that, it starts really affecting their life because they're not the guys who can just go have a couple beers and go home. They're the guys where they're getting drunk. And like I said, they're using it for medication. And then they can't think clearly, so they can't have relationships. They can't go to work the next day. And if they do, they're useless because they're just existing, because they have a hangover. They have literally poison flowing through their body. That's what alcohol is. It's a poison. There's really nothing good about it. Oh, unless they make it taste good, then it's good. Okay, well, it's a scam that gets you to buy more and ruin your life. The point of the 15 to 30-year-old, and then they start getting it, and what she said and what I went through was when you quit drinking at 30, say, oh man, you come to this realization, I got to quit drinking because it's messing up my life. Here's the problem with that. And what people need to learn how to quit drinking. When you're 30, you say you're drinking from 15 to 30, and then you try to quit. Well, if you're not suppressing yourself anymore, what you're doing is when you are suppressing yourself, you're suppressing all these emotions and feelings. So you're not maturing. If you're not dealing with those emotions and feelings as you're getting older, you don't know how, you don't mature, you don't grow, you don't know how to handle them. So really, if you quit drinking at 30 and you started at 15, and you realized it was a problem, so you quit drinking, all of a sudden you're going to have this flood of emotions and feelings coming into you, like a broken dam. It's going to come pouring into you, and your mental state is going to be completely overwhelmed by it. And that's really tough, because if you've lasted that long, that's a long period of time. You've had a lot of things coming in and out of your life for 15 years that you didn't grow emotionally through. And all of a sudden, you're being flooded with all this information, and it's overwhelming. You can't handle it because basically you got the mentality of a 15 to 20-year-old, and you're dealing with up to 30-year-old situations. And it's overwhelming. And then what do most people do? They go back to drinking because it just shuts it off. And then they're really miserable because now they're caught in this vortex of, I want to stop, but I can't stop, and boom, 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 boom. Then you're full-blown addiction. And then if you're mixing other stuff into it, as the world does, smoking weed, another depressant, doing coke, heroin, whatever you're adding to it. There's all kinds of things. That creates a whole different drug. And then your body's being tossed around in this chemical warfare inside of it between the alcohol and the drugs and whatever. But let's just stick with the alcohol for now, because that's what the person wanted to talk about. So you're dealing with this 30-year-old situation with a 15-year-old mentality. It's going to drive you insane. Okay? The Bible describes drinking in a few different ways. It's a hot topic in the church scene, because a lot of church people, a lot of Christians, and I know a lot of guys that can go have a few beers and have a glass of wine and do their thing. Okay, I don't look down on them at all, because that's what they want to do. They're not drinking a whole bottle of wine. They're not doing these things. They're not becoming a drunkard. They have at certain times, but they're not always getting hammered and missing work and getting divorced and all these different things. Okay, because it's bad for them. Okay, and they don't mind that. Okay, they don't mind a little bit of suppressant flowing through their body. Me, I have a very high metabolism. I can feel every little thing that comes in and out of my body. If I take an Advil or a Tylenol because I'm sore, I feel it like heavy duty. So when I drank, it was like boom. When I did coke, boom, man, it was hardcore. It was like, yeah, stimulant, depressing. It affected my body. Okay, it did what it was supposed to do, get me jacked up. There are people that can just go have a few beers and a glass of wine, and that's fine. If that's what they want to do, God doesn't say you're an evil creature because if you choose to do that. You have free will. It does say in Scripture, though, that if you're in a position of authority, you shouldn't drink. Okay, I think I can look that scripture. I think I actually have it right here. And the reason for that is because you need to make authoritative decisions. Right here, Proverbs 31, 4 through 5. Proverbs 31, 4 through 5. It is not for kings. It is not for kings to drink wine, not for rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed and deprive all the oppressed of their rights. So, I mean, that's just one scripture. If God is putting it in scripture, this is my personal opinion now, okay? If God is putting it in scripture that kings and people in an authoritative position shouldn't drink because they'll make bad decisions, then what does it do in your life? You know, I mean, I realize that at an older age that I don't have to drink to socialize. And if people do, I don't really want to be around it. I can't be around those people anymore. Those used to be the weird people that didn't drink. Now I'm that weird person, like, because I don't want to be suppressed. I don't want my emotions and feelings suppressed. Those are the two things in the Bible. You know, Jesus made the wine at the wedding. Most of the reason that wine was a big thing in the beginning, in the biblical days in the Middle East, was because they would make wine because when the water was so bad in the ground that they couldn't drink it. So they would make wine and let it ferment. You crush the grapes, right? You let it ferment just a little bit to kill enough to kill the bacteria, and then you could drink that, and it was, you know, hydration for your body. And then if you let it ferment a little more, which, here you go, typical human society, you always, you know, you'll get guys who are like, hey, but, you know, if we leave it sit a little longer, we can get buzzed. And that's where, you know, they created alcohol. I mean, look at the liquor stores. Here, you know, I'm speaking from a spiritual perspective, okay, a Christian perspective. I'm not speaking from a world perspective where anything goes and you can do whatever you want and, you know, there's no recourse, okay? Literally, it's a spiritual event. You're taking your reality state, this cloak of a reality veil around you from the spirit world, okay? Because if you believe in God, you got to believe that there's evil, good and evil, right? Well, at least you should, because that's how it is. Okay, if you don't know about that, then you really got to learn where you came from. And you learn by, you know, asking God to open your eyes, you know, ask Him into your heart so He can guide your life and give it a shot. I had to do it one day. You reach a point in your life where you're an adult and, you know, God will give you opportunities to accept Him into your life so that He can give you wisdom. He gives you the ultimate gift. It's free will. You could choose to blow Him off all your life and then deal with the consequences later, or you could choose to accept Him and have Him guide your life instead of the world guiding your life, because this is not what you want guiding your life. As an example, why do they have liquor stores? Okay. Well, liquor stores are to sell alcohol to you and make a crap load of money and tax the crap out of you. And what's it do? It takes you out of a reality state. People want to get buzzed. They took the whole philosophy of, drink a little bit of wine to release a little bit of tension, to full-blown madness. Okay, most people get hammered. They don't just have a little bit of wine to make their stomachs feel better or to thin out their blood or because their water is bad. Because our water isn't bad anymore. You could buy bottled water. Okay, they got no reasons to be getting hammered unless it's to get loose and get a little, you know, because society likes it now. The worse society gets, the more it's accepted. Now pot's legal. They're legalizing cocaine and heroin. Anything that takes you out of a reality state. Because little devil boy doesn't want you communicating with the Lord, and when your reality state is inhibited because you've changed your chemical balance by ingesting alcohol, which is a depressant, or cocaine, which is a stimulant, or heroin, which is a depressant, or pills, or hydrocodone, or the opioid epidemic now. That's all depressants. It takes people out of a reality state and makes them weak-minded. That's why it says in Scripture that kings and princes shouldn't drink, because they have to make. I'm paraphrasing the Scripture. You can look it up. There's tons of Scripture in the Bible about drinking. Some of it's like, yeah, let them drink their sorrows away. Some of it's, let them drink a little bit to, get a little happy. Just like some of my friends, they can have a few beers or a few glasses of wine, and that's it. They don't go get hammered every night. But the overall majority, most people, if you look at statistics, alcohol isn't a good thing. And personally, why I say that people should stay away from it, there's a couple reasons. If you have that addictive personality, it's going to get you. And then you'll be the guy trying to get away from it later on in life. And you've wasted half of your life in a suppressed state without being able to think. So, it's not a good thing. Okay, there's nothing really good about it. I mean, it says right on the outside of liquor stores, wine and spirits. Why does it say spirits? Why do they include spirits in it? Because back in the day, they know it's a spiritual event. Okay, you're lowering your cloak of protection, the spiritual realm protection, the veil of protection that God has put around you to keep you safe from spiritual events and spiritual things. There's angels and demons in every room you're in. You just can't see them. You keep drinking enough, you have people hallucinating, and then you mix drugs into it. Oh, he's hallucinating and seeing things, and that's how they see it. When that spiritual veil of protection drops because you willingly drank alcohol or did drugs, it allows the spirit realm to come and start permeating into your world that you exist in. And you don't want to play with that, believe me. That is not something you want to play with. That's why God says in Scripture, don't play with tarot cards or, palm readers or Ouija boards, all those things that connect you to the spirit realm. You don't want to do drugs, because drugs, tons of cocaine, alcohol, cocaine, pot, all those